Hey guys, welcome back to Uncut Hawaii. And if you're new to our podcast, thank you so much for joining. You know, Andrew and I, we're filmmakers. This podcast world is a new world for us and we're learning every day, but we've just been so excited about the support that we've gotten. So thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and following us every week.
And today we have a very exciting guest, McKenna Maduli. She's a rock star. She's traveled around the world. She's been on so many TV shows and whatnot, but she moved back home and created and founded a show called Talk Story with McKenna Maduli, which is an Emmy Award Winning show now. So we're excited to speak with her and hear her journey.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk to her about like some of the conversations that she has that have been like really memorable to her, because that's kind of why we started this podcast too, just to have those long format conversations and to share the whole conversation uncut and in people's own words. So I know she's been interviewing so many amazing people in Hawaii, so excited to have her on.
Thank you, McKenna, for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to talk to you about all the things.
We get to flip roles, right? Because you have a talk story show, and now like we get to ask you questions.
Now the tables have
turned. Talk story with you.
Oh, it makes me look kind of nervous.
I'm nervous.
We're all nervous here.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. Well, tell us. We want to hear about your journey to. I mean, you're an accomplished television host and have interviewed Hollywood to like every big name here in Hawaii. So tell us, like, take us all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, did you always know that this is what you wanted to do?
I think I did. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew one day I would be talking story with people, elevating people's stories, and really, like, I always wanted to share the good that other people were doing, especially in our community here in Hawaii. And it fell, it kind of fell from the sky, but I've had many careers and many lives. But when you want to take it back to the beginning, I grew up in Kalihi Valley to a very big, large Hawaiian Filipino family. My dad's a producer, my mom's a promoter. So I grew up either in the studio or the backstage of Makaha Bash, right? And like watching shows, and I've just grew up with all of the names in the industry, and it really was natural for me to talk to people, and I was everyone's niece, everyone was my auntie, uncle, and I went to Christian Academy, and then I went to Roosevelt High School, proud graduate, where I really started to learn more of my voice. I danced hula and really loved performing arts. So didn't quite know when I left Hawaii to go to California what I wanted to do, but it kind of, when I look back at it now, which is 20 something years later, it's really cool to watch, and I'm so grateful. Like now I'm doing podcasts with you too, it's really cool.
So when you went to California, you went for school?
Yeah. So I moved from Honolulu to San Francisco first.
What did you study?
At that point, I literally had no idea. I was just taking all my core classes. It wasn't until I transferred. So from Foothill College, I found an extension program at UCLA for broadcast journalism. Okay. And I thought I wanted to get into hard news, but I didn't quite fit. It was like I was so emotional that I would like cry when someone would get hurt or someone would car accidents and people. And it wasn't until I had an internship at KABC, which is the huge station in Los Angeles, that I got an entertainment internship.
Oh, okay.
And so I went from hard news to really loving entertainment news. And it was a couple weeks after I started, and the producer came up to me and she said, "Are you ready to go to your first red carpet?" And I was like, okay. And the George Panacchio, who I was studying under, was sick that day. So I went to my very first red carpet in Hollywood, barely 21 years old. And I think that's when I fell in love with being an entertainment reporter. And
just that energy and everything.
That was like the first of probably lots of big breaks for you, huh? What was that red carpet? Do you remember?
Yes, it was the red carpet for Intolerable Cruelty, which was starring George Clooney, Catherine Zeta-Jones. The soundtrack had songs from people like Stevie Wonder on it. So
my gosh.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm this young, Hawaiian girl from Kalihi Valley, and my first celebrity interview was George Clooney.
Stop.
My God. Yeah. And
2 weeks into the new job.
2 weeks into an internship. Yeah.
It was really a job. Internship.
It was an internship, and and I like to encourage the kids in Hawaii here too. You have a passion and you really find something that you're good at, but then I never knew. See, even right now at this stage in my career, I'm like, what's next? You just follow your heart and you do what makes you feel good.
So was he nice?
He was so kind. He was so kind. And there have been many, you know, I think. So we're back to where I was like 20 years ago. And KBC had just spoken to everybody. Junkets were really big at the time too. Do you remember junkets?
Yeah, press junkets.
You're too young. So press junkets, right, where you, a host would interview the celebrities of the movie that was coming out. And I learned a lot from pros like Nancy O'Dell and Billy Bush and Sean Robinson, Ellen, and, you know, going and having I was on the lot at NBC and ABC. So just being a local girl, kind of just like in the carts, like Jay Leno was being filmed in one studio and then Days of Our Lives was in another studio. So I think I really absorbed the energy of like, okay, how do I do this for where I come from? Or how do I help what's happening at home? You know, that's where the passion began, I think.
Yeah. And did you learn how to become an interviewer in that job?
I think learning how to become an interviewer comes from my natural curiosity or just being ni ele. I'm just being like, what? Who you want about a sister stay? I definitely think that is a natural thing. But learning to interview has been letting people speak. You know, everyone wants to be heard. Everyone has questions. Everyone wants to be seen, and they have their own stories to tell. So creating a space that's safe, like you guys have made me feel, where we can talk about things and really making people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And if I had to say if I did something different, I love to include people to make them feel like they're part of my family. And I think that's something that I've taken with me from red carpets to, you know, I've traveled all over with Billboard Live and MTV. I worked in New York. And just making them feel like they're a part of my family, that they could be in Kalihi Valley at a jam sesh, you know, and that's important.
That's a great approach too.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah.
So with all that experience, you know, you got to work in LA, New York, go to all these red carpets. You developed this passion of like coming back home and trying to do that. So tell us a little bit about that and like why you came back home.
Decision to come back home,
The decision, so we're fast forward. So I was in the mainland for 17 years. So I did 3 years in San Francisco, 14 in Los Angeles, and I had actually moved with my best friend to Austin, Texas. And, you know, if we want to rewind a little bit, I had gotten the dream job of Access Hollywood, red carpets. I'd gotten MTV, and I don't know if you guys are still too young too, but like I had always wanted to host MTV Spring Break.
Like, girl, I am not too young for that.
Yeah, so I started checking things off of I'm a very big vision board person, like in front of my office and my desk. Like my best friend makes fun of me, like you've won too many vision boards. But you know what?
Hey, there's never too many.
There's never too many. And as long as you visualize and you can see, but I was, you know, in my early 30s and just like, wow, check that off. And then you're always evolving. Like, what's next? And after the red carpet thing for a little bit, I didn't really feel I wanted to be there anymore. There's a type of energy that sometimes happens behind the camera, and you guys would know this, that of this energy or ego or things that I necessarily wasn't aligning with. And I thought I needed a little bit of a change. So I actually left Los Angeles and I went to Austin looking for a morning host job. And during that time in Austin, I was only there for maybe a few weeks. And I was sitting down at my computer and I was typing and I just didn't know what I was doing really. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I literally heard in my ear, go home. Like in my ear.
That just gave me chicken skin. Oh my gosh.
And I heard that. And it was go home. And then I heard the words KHON, which was the station I ended up working for, and Hale Sweet Hale. And I was in the middle of Austin on 7th Street, like just like, okay, I think I'm supposed to go home. And it was this gravitational pull that I believe my kupuna brought me back here to really, one of my uncles had been sick and I'd wanted to spend more time with him. And I just so happened that night after dinner had gone online and looked up job positions here in Hawaii. I think there's pretty much about 16 to 20 of them on camera positions.
Yeah.
And one of them became available 15 minutes prior to me.
Stop. Wow. That is crazy.
Like the universe aligning and
it was,
your kapuna telling you.
Yeah. Whoa. That just gave me chicken skin again.
And I think I was home within 2 weeks and I moved home within a month from LA to Austin back to LA, back to Honolulu.
Wow. What kept you away for so long, do you think? I mean, 17 years is a really long time for somebody who's like such a Hawaii girl, you know?
I came home a lot. Mahalo for my Hawaiian benefits. I came home a lot, but I think that, you know, I surrounded myself. When we were from Hawaii, we gather, you know, we have
especially
a crew.
outside of Hawaii.
In the Bay Area, which is a huge local community, as well as Los Angeles. Made sure I made lots of trips, but, and I had lots of visitors, you know, but I think my hunger to soak up what the world had to offer. I did a lot of traveling, you know, all over the world. And I think that the interest in that kept me away. Yeah. And then it was like, boom, when I came home, it was like one speed, full speed.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what has it been like then? So when was that you moved home? What year was that?
2016. So this has been 6 years this June.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. And you've been able to accomplish so much in 6 years. My gosh.
I'm tired.
It's a break.
But it's like, what's next? You know, still.
That's how I feel. You know, when I came home, so I was a weather anchor and a morning news reporter. And then, which I knew nothing about, but I grew up here. So I knew what the weather patterns were, and I got to learn some live news kicks, you know, morning news, 4.5 hours live on air is no joke.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No joke.
I get nervous recording here.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I actually had applied for a couple of positions at the station I was at and was passed on them. And they were a morning news show and a lifestyle show. And I was sort of like, it was kind of, maybe I'll go back to LA. I didn't really know what I was going to do because I knew that I didn't want to stay. I think that the intention for me to be at the station was to maybe fall into more of a news role. And I just didn't vibe. I didn't feel myself. I couldn't feel my true authentic self, as they say. But it's so overused now. It's overused. But it is.
But it's true though. I mean, it is true. Like,
if things don't align, you know, you gotta figure out what's next.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I didn't sign on for another contract, and I kind of took the summer off. I started a little Hale Sweet Hale Home collection company, and I had been friends with the general manager now at Hawai'i News Now and our new mayor, Rick Blangiardi. And they said, can we meet with you before you go back to LA? And I was set to go back to LA 2 weeks later. And I was like, okay. And I met with them and they said, you know, we don't know what we have for you yet. They had no position really for me. But we want you to stay home because Hawaii needs you. We feel like Hawaii needs you and that we could benefit from you being here. And I got there and I created Talk Story and I created the shows Hulali on the Red Carpet and all of these ideas that I've had my whole life from my 20 year career on the mainland. And you've seen them come to fruition, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Felt amazing. You know, someone believing in you, one, and then two, being able to like bring your ideas to life.
Yes, and that takes a gamble.
Yeah, I was gonna say that takes like a lot of like self-confidence too. Like, I can do this. Like, I can create a show that's not even created yet. Like, I have a vision.
Right, and that vision kind of changed. Did I just hit something?
No, that was me.
Okay, so I really wanted to do something that featured all the wonderful people from Hawaii. Growing up in the entertainment industry, I wanted, you know, musicians, and then it turned to athletes. And then we were able to, last year, turn it to water rights, you know, like we could do skits with Josh Totofi. We have hula with, you know, groups. Programming around Mary Monarch. I mean, being a hula dancer since I was 4 years old, and now the shows that I produce and create and write and host and edit, they're the hour before the hugest hula festival in the world. Like, these are all things that are just like, even talking about them now, I'm like, wow, it's so cool. It makes me want to cry because it's just like, those were dreams and intentions that I feel like any kid here in Hawaii can do and make happen. I'm literally emotional.
Oh my gosh, I'm like,
we're stoked
feeling
for you. Yeah.
Oh, so stoked for you.
We love this energy. And
yeah, it's just you set intentions, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, Emmys. We just came back from the Emmys.
Yeah, congratulations.
That show, this dream show that probably 3 years ago, wasn't expecting this, guys. But even with the Emmys,
this is a first. We've never had anybody cry on Uncut.
I'm thinking about it, like, gosh, in 3 years, and I'm like, never, when tooting your own horn of like having a show and it having 8 Emmy nominations in 3 years is just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I don't have time to reflect like this because I'm just keep going and I keep creating, and then to people.
And yeah, in your space, you're sharing other people's stories, you know, and like this.
You're shining the light on other amazing people and things that are happening in Hawaii, and you're just like the bridge to those people and those stories.
Yes, and I want to encourage the next generation of storytellers, just like you do, of like what we do best. We're all three of us are amazing at our jobs, and at one point we're gonna want to retire, believe it or not. Oh God, maybe some of us sooner than later. But I really do aim to inspire this next generation, keep Hawaii, and just really help keep the positive, and because people are just, you know, I have a very big abundance activist attitude and abundance over scarcity, and I'm trying to just, you know, especially these kids, like kind of knock some fear out of them and just let them really shine their light. So
yeah, those kids are so like naturally talented. I've like gotten to mentor some high school kids in filmmaking, and I'm like, they pick up like so fast, and they have new ideas and fresh ideas, and I'm like, that they're like, I have hope for the next generation.
As you should.
Hope. Yeah.
I think their future is incredibly bright. I think once we're shaking off this pandemic, and we're shaking off a lot of things that were uncomfortable, but they're the ones who are going to shine.
Yeah, for sure. Can you share with us some stories that you have, or maybe some interviews that have like really made you chicken skin, like made you affected you
out,
in some way?
I've had a bunch, you know, and I always say this, but I just have to. Oprah, I've gotten to interview her twice.
That's so crazy.
Yes, and she just was so kind. She held my hand during both interviews.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yes, like I have a photo of it. Got her to shotgun one of them, and she just loved. I love that when I was in LA and in Hollywood, people could recognize that I was from Hawaii. That was so important to me, that they could pick up my energy, my aloha spirit, and that is really, it meant a lot.
Something to be proud of, for sure.
Some other moments, I mean, Stevie Wonder was pretty much up there. You know, George Clooney was really kind. As far as like entertainer, Snoop Dogg was always fun.
Yeah, it was always fun.
Wiz Khalifa, Kim Kardashian was like she was like late to an MTV VMAs. Do they still even have VMAs?
I think so. Yeah, they do.
So.
Yeah,
I think so.
She was so sweet. I was like late, and people can hate on her all she wants, but she's a billionaire, okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, she's got her game down. But she apologized. I waited like, and our cameras would put down the cameras and everything, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm late." And I was like, "Okay, Kim Kardashian, you could be sorry." And but I appreciated that she apologized. She didn't have to do that.
Yeah, usually people, they don't care.
They're like, hurry up, ask me my question. Eva Longoria is great. I mean, just countless amount of people.
Yeah. How about being back home in Hawaii and
like
having
some local stories?
Yeah, getting to have conversations with people in Hawaii. Like, what have been some that just stick out to you?
I really loved interviewing Colton Wong, because I feel like he has such a great story of his passion for not only a sport, but his love for his mother, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I love talking to Uncle Moon Koakahi from the Maka'a Sons. I grew up with him, but I just recently had him on Hula's Life, and he's written over 1,000 mele.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And I know, and next week I'm hosting the Native Hawaiian Convention, as well as the 45th annual Nahuku Hanohano Awards. And when you think about, you know, perpetuation of our culture, of our people, of our language, these are the people who do it. So Uncle Mooney was great.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
What an honor to interview such a legend and like be able to capture their stories from their own, you know, from their own mouths, like.
Yeah, and sharing it. You know, I think that's why, like, the whole reason why we started this whole thing was like, you know, we're filmmakers, we're storytellers, and it's like we get to talk to all these people and whatnot, but there was never like a platform where we could share it. That's like
the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing is entirely not cut up, right?
That's my problem. I'm gonna tell you all right now, and my crew gets mad because they're like 2-time, right? I'm like, no. And so I'm like, I have a 48-30 show, 48 minutes and 30 seconds, and I have like 3 hours of content.
How do we cut this down?
And it's my job to do that, and then I dislike myself later, but I have these moments with these legends that not a lot of people get anymore, you know, and some of the stuff maybe won't see the light of day for 40 years, but at least I have it. I have it, you know?
You have, it's so valuable. Just make sure to back that up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Back it up.
I'm going to go Best Buy. This one teaches me many tricks with the...
Randomly text me.
I'm always like, which computer should I buy? Andrew's like, gold, la la la. I won't give all your secrets, Andrew.
Get the student discount.
He literally told me to do that. And I used his name.
When is the last time you were a student, Andrew?
Yesterday.
Hey, always learning, always learning. You know? Life
Student
is,
of life.
Yeah, student of life.
I do, though. I have a new iMac. I have no idea how to use. But
It's like, oh, can I get a student discount? I'm a student of life.
it works. It works. But I do love getting back to what you're talking about, like to be able to do podcasts like this and to be able to share. You know, there's a lot of rules for television too. Podcasts, you can be a lot more explicit, not explicit, but a lot more
Just raw.
vulnerable.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think, you know, like, we always say this too, like, selfishly, like, we're the ones like gaining all this like valuable wisdom and like hearing these stories and whatnot. And that's what we hope our viewers get, you know, or listeners and whatnot too. So we're stoked.
Yeah, tell us about some exciting projects that you have coming up, because I'm sure you have things percolating.
Always percolating. So I had 3 goals this summer, and it was a new headshot, a new host reel, and a new website. And these are things that I want for a national level. I feel like we've done so much work, and we have a beautiful brand and a beautiful following with Talk Story.
Yep.
But it's now, what do we and how do we take it to the next level? So I want to book a national show. And how do we do that? We're going to do it.
Yes.
Haven't quite figured it out yet, but we're going to do it. It's the intentions there, and again, align to abundance. We have many shows. I have Goodwill Goes Glam coming up, which is really great.
Oh, cute.
The Native Hawaiian Convention. Yeah, that's another show created out of my love for thrifting. Again, and like it was the pandemic, and they're like, hey, do you want to put together a show about thrifting and helping people in the community? I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Goodwill Goes Glam.
Goodwill Goes Glam, which is great. Have you ever been?
Okay,
so it's huge at the Blaisdell, and they take it over.
I love thrifting. We have a thrift store in Waimea, every Tuesday, me and the girls are over there.
Nice.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Lululemon for $6 over here.
That's great. No, I've been working with them for a while, so I have that coming up. I have some really exciting Christmas specials that are going to be it's going to be incredible. So I actually wiped off my board yesterday because I am into 2023.
Yeah.
All the things.
So you know, with all of this and all of these projects you're involved in, like, what are some things that kind of like keep you grounded or like focused and aligned with your vision, right? Because I'm sure like there's so many opportunities coming at you, and you're like, how do you pick and choose, like, and, like,
what do you
find
say,
that balance, you know?
say yes to?
I'm a very big feeler and an empath in a way. So when certain things feel right, I say yes. And then things don't quite feel like I really want to share my energy with, and I kindly, and I'm learning the power of no is actually not
That's
a bad,
huge.
it's not a horrible thing. But to stay grounded, I stay with my family. I actually, because I'm with people so much, I've been finding myself like in solitude in my home by myself. Just safe, solo, and just like I'm just trying to center and ground. You know, next week I'm going to be on live television for 3 hours, and then in front of 1,200 people for 3 days, and it's just, that's a lot of energy that you as one person has to give out. So I've really been learning how to protect my energy, ground. I'm really into like Mind Valley, which is just teaching you about, you know, focus and just a frequency that we can all meet at to elevate others around us.
Yeah.
So like what kind of tools are you using, like you talked about
Besides
Vision
Mind Valley.
Board, you talk about Mind Valley.
Yeah, so that, I think Vision Board, I love Reiki, I love grounding. We're so blessed to be here in Hawaii, to be able to go out to the ocean. You can even, can I pick up my slippers? I picked up these slippers because this is how much I love grounding, y'all, okay?
For those of you just listening, her slippers is like turf and like, it's like
but I love them. But grounding and centering, getting some workout. I'm still working on the meditation game.
Yeah.
Are you guys are you good at meditating?
No, I'm trying to get better. Like with all these podcasts, and like I listen to a lot of podcasts here, and like everyone I listen to, they talk about meditating.
So many successful people have like mastered that. But I also like I listened to something about like somebody else was saying, you know, meditation doesn't have to be like what you see everybody doing, like closing your eyes and meditating. It could be you're meditating in movement, like while you're like walking or running or working out. It's like that state of
Your
mind.
form of meditation.
Yeah, there's like it can take on
Mm-hmm.
different forms, and I'm like, oh yeah, same. Like, because we're always talking and giving out energy. When I'm in the car, I used to always listen to podcasts, and now I'm just like, I just like silence.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just
I drive home in
silence.
silence. Yes.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I just started doing hypnotherapy.
Oh yeah.
It's been, and it's so great because for someone like the both of us as business owners and content creators and you're always like figuring out things in your head, to be taken out of your head for an hour is mind changing,
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
mind blowing.
Yeah, no,
It's
I'm
life-changing.
constantly. I'm sure everyone, like, we're all just constantly thinking about things and problems to solve, and
It's hard for
What's
me
next?
too, though, Andrew,
Yeah.
to really get into that state of meditation. But just really just trying to be still has been really helping me.
Tell us more about hypnotherapy, because I've done it once before. It was like combined with like past life regression.
Yes, I did that too.
Yeah. It was wild. It
Yeah.
was so wild. But tell us about your journey with that.
So I started with a past life regression, and I flew to San Francisco to do that. And it was also just to be, again, out of this. Like, we have to, there's so much thought, I think, with us on social media all the time, with what we do for work. It was so nice to be walked into other realms or other ways that you could have possibly lived a past life.
Crazy.
For me, having her do it, and I love that I have this super titta moke chick from Waimanalo come to my house, and she is amazing, and her name's Hannah. She just says, "Hey, titta," like total titta, and she just walks you through, and you come to a really nice, relaxed state, and you are just really taken mentally into a place of peace, which is, I think, a lot of us need more these days.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and then after you're given some activities to kind of talk yourself down, even at night, you know, to get to bed. I have a hard time going to sleep.
Yeah.
'Cause
Mind's
you're
always
always thinking,
racing,
yeah.
always thinking about the next thing, creating.
That reading, I just went to Deepak at Hawai'i Theater, and he had some great, number one thing on his pillars was rest, you know, for mindfulness and well-being, eating healthy. I realized how much sugar I put in my body, not good.
Yeah.
And just moving around, you know, has been helpful for me.
Yeah. we were
Right,
talking
too.
about, no, I'm talking, no, we were talking about the past life regression. I'm like, I was thinking, I wonder what Andrew was in his past life.
Yeah, I
You should do it.
yeah. Like, now that I'm hearing all these things,
Because
like,
you have such a like old soul, and I'm like, you're probably, I don't know, I'm trying to think of maybe like a teacher, some
He's a shaman.
Yeah, shaman. Yeah.
Maybe could have been Egypt. No.
yeah, that's interesting, because I've been thinking about it, especially with talking with Kolby, and, you know, we talked with Rihanna, and then like other people bringing up like spirituality and all that stuff. I was like, I was thinking like maybe I should just try it and see.
I think you should.
Yeah.
And I put a GoPro. I have my whole thing recorded,
Oh,
and
then
I've
you can,
listened
like-
to it like 2 to 3 times, and it's just mine. It's helped me heal too.
Yeah.
You know?
They
Just
talk about
understanding,
like you know, like past life or generational trauma or whatever, but then there's also like past life trauma that you kind of carry into your current life.
Karmic contracts.
Yes.
Energy.
Which is
Andrew's like, all right,
what
this podcast has taken on a
I know, it just went like a whole different direction. Like, gee.
But when you talk about what's been helping me, especially post-pandemic, is just really been losing myself in books, stillness, abundance over scarcity, and just not, you know, overthinking everything the way I used to.
Talk a little bit about that abundance over scarcity mindset
Mindset.
that you talk about.
If you think of, and I just had the best conversation with a friend last night, but honestly, like what we've talked about too, like I created my own lane. Like what I've done in my life, and like everyone has their own lane. I am not an exception to the rule. You have done this. We might have similar companies that do the same thing, but you don't do what she does. She doesn't do what you do. Everybody has their own hulali, as I like to call it. And a therapist told me once that there's an ATM in the sky. And once you get that PIN number, it doesn't stop. That flow,
Just gave me chicken skin.
that flow doesn't stop. And sometimes we might forget the PIN. We might go and put the wrong number. We might go to the wrong bank. But there's an ATM in the sky full of abundance and full of things that were predestined for us, things that are out there for us to grab and to get. And if we just stop worrying about everybody else, You're the best person. You're kind. And I live my life by trust your path, trust your path, walk by faith, and always believe your best is yet to come. The sky's the limit. Completely.
So good.
The ATM
There's
in the
an
sky
ATM out there.
It is. And you don't gotta pay $2 to
Yeah, there's no fee. There's no fee.
There's no fee. No.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
It's a good one. And I have to remind myself, we should do like a McKenna, like a talk story. Like we should do like a collab of all the powerful things we can teach people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's do it.
I'm just like in awe of like all of like your approach to life and abundance and vision. And where do you think you get that? I mean, was that taught to you?
Yeah, my dad always jokes. He's like, you get so fancy because I like cut them out. I buy stuff from Michael's. I like have like jewels on it. And my dad's like, we used to do that on yellow pad paper.
Oh, he used to do that?
He used to do that too.
He used to do that in his own way, and he would pin stuff up. But for me, a spiritual journey or this health is wealth mindset and abundance mindset comes from not winning all the time and not, rejection and having to believe that there's something else out there because, for a lot of my LA career, I've had a great career, but I also probably went to 1,000 auditions that I got maybe 2 or 3 jobs out of 1,000 auditions, So I think really knowing like you got to keep going and really believing in something bigger than myself. Yeah. And I was grounded in faith from a young age with my mom and dad.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's huge.
That's awesome. I love that your dad did vision boards on the
yellow pad.
Yeah. Just writing it out. I think a lot of people don't realize that, but like once you write something,
write down your goals. It's out there in the universe. Then it's like not just in your mind.
I have a tip too. When you write things down, write them in a blue pen because a blue pen holds you for some reason more accountable.
Really?
Yeah. So I have, and one of my mentors taught that to me. I'm like, should we order blue pens on Amazon?
Yeah, seriously.
I have blue pens everywhere. But yeah, there's just some sense of, I don't know why he told me to do it right now, but he literally just
for the rest of your life now you're going to blue pen.
It's where but I see something, I'll write it. I am a post-it queen. Right on my bathroom mirror it says you're a smart cookie, so every time I look in the bathroom it tells me I'm smart. I have in my shower like just words are powerful.
Yes.
Words are very powerful, and if you tell yourself every day I am smart, I'm abundant, I am strong, I'm fearless, you start to really believe. And it's kind of like this building block that helps you get through this crazy thing called life.
Yep.
That's so true.
So what's like some tips or like advice that you would give to someone like just like on this journey of life? But I mean, I guess just like trying to find themselves or build that confidence.
Like when you speak to the younger generation about they're so I don't know what to do with my life kind of thing. Like what would you tell them?
Align and attune to it. I when you ask me these questions of like when did you know, I think it's just something that we work towards, and it's just always wanted to be. For me, it was just always being a good person, making sure I reflected light, making sure I was elevating my culture, and I like to give these young kids and girls like the best advice that I can give them is validate from within. And that is really like speak your truth, be proud of who you are, heal things that sometimes when you don't understand them come to be. Yesterday I saw something that says infuse your ego with essence, which means you don't have to have, like everybody has an ego. You that's how you compete, that's how you work hard. But if your essence of who you are and your ano, as we say in Hawaiian, if you infuse, you're like, hey, you know what? I have this and it's going to sit right here, but my essence and my light and who I want to be and what I want to do is bigger than this, you win.
So good.
So many good.
I'm just dropping EK bombs.
I know.
I see Andrew like marking
reel,
mark.
Instagram reel.
I learned so much from Andrew. I really do. How come Andrew Tran gets all the fun toys?
Oh, I just borrowed this from a friend too.
I know. Thanks. I know we still haven't.
I know. Shout out to Pooh. Thank you.
Thanks, Pooh. I can borrow next.
Yeah. It was like found this table outside. Borrowed the
our
thing.
Little makeshift studio.
Yeah.
But that is how, when you see Talk Story on TV, there's not one thing that's bought in that studio. Everything is either from a thrift store, one of my hale in San Francisco, Los Angeles, or Austin, or something that is a makana that feels so good to me that's on that set. There's not one thing that's bought.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you kind of brought home there, right? You
Yeah.
built home there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think as entrepreneurs, you're like forced to be scrappy sometimes. It's like, we're not going to just like wait until we have like the perfect studio. Like, we're just going to like use what we have. And
I love that you guys did that, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
execution part was like a huge thing, right? Like we always talk about a lot of things, and I mean for anything, right? And it's just like we're just like, let's just do it, and we'll learn
And
as we
then-
go. And we're constantly
consistency-
learning.
And consistency, because it's easy
Consistency
to
is key.
start something, but then it's like, oh, that 4 a.m. call, when I have to like fly
Yeah.
up here, it's like, okay, consistency.
And it's worth it, you know. I think even for you have 2 little girls. I mean, what do you hope in this time for them to have, like, because that's what I always say little girls, but it's these little boys as well. But what are some of the things that you look for when you allow them to watch television?
Well, no one's really asked us questions before.
I know. Wait. I'm not prepared for this.
Well, I just think
No, my girls have been like the ultimate teacher, honestly,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to like make sense of the world for them, and in
Yeah.
the same time I'm like making sense of the world for me, like what's important, what do I want to teach them, and then I need to kind of like figure that out in my head and like really understand that before I teach them. And then even having girls, like being like loving yourself and believing in yourself and like dreaming big, I can't tell them to do that if I'm not doing that, you know?
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Very cool. When we were talking, I flashed on this too, because I just became on July 1st the VP for Hawaii for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for the Emmys.
Go, girl.
Yeah.
And that happened on
Yes.
July 1st. But this is, again, just reflecting with you guys, a girl from Kuli Valley,
Yeah.
right? Who wanted to inspire young girls that you have to raise and teach today. So full circle, make them drink vision board for your girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cute, like a little kid vision
Hey,
board session.
Give them blue pens though. Don't forget the blue pens.
Andrew, what would be the first thing on your vision board?
First thing on my vision board. Whoa,
The
what's
table's
up?
really hot.
I'm not prepared for this.
The table's been turned.
I think for me, I think the biggest thing is like I grew up in a family where my parents were always working hard. They made sacrifices. You know, they immigrated from Vietnam, and like for me, I just want to be able to like give back to them somehow. Like that's like at the top right now. Like just like taking care of them, taking care of myself, but then just like I don't know. I think that's like the biggest thing that drives me, and then why I work so hard. I just
Right.
want to be able to like create that freedom for them, and I don't know. You know, if you feel that sense of like you don't have to, but I feel like
You
the
want
sense to
to.
repay them somehow. So that's huge for me.
That's an amazing why.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
so
a good
that's like my
one.
big why, you know, like
Yeah.
why I'm working so hard and like doing all these different things. Just trying like I want to retire my parents.
There you
You know,
go.
I want to retire Megan's parents. I want to retire myself.
I told you guys. I told you already. That's why we're inspiring the next generation. It's really important. But I feel like with us too, I'm already like, what is next, right?
Yeah,
How do we
always.
get there?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to do to get Hawaii to a place where it needs to be for the next generation. So it's
Yeah,
like,
so we kind of like talked with Malia, and like her episode, she talked about how like Hawaii as a, you know, like we're getting priced out of Hawaii and all these things and all these issues and stuff. But for you to come home and like share stories and give back to your, you know, to your homeland, you know, that's huge, and like that's so much respect. And
Thank you. There's a lot more to be done. And I
Yes.
think, you know, this, as I prepare fall season of K5 and Talk Story, really concentrating on health and mind wellness and all of that in our community is really important for us to encourage each other to keep going. Because right now, I think it's not, it's, and I got to get back to the abundance over scarcity, because there's a lot out there, but there's also a lot of fear.
yeah,
You know?
I mean, we are coming out of a pandemic, and like a lot of people's lives have been turned upside down. So it makes sense, but yeah, like we need to like take that power back.
I'm with it. I'm
Yeah.
with you guys.
Yeah.
you did. I think like the big story you did recently was the whole water situation, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we were on a shoot and she got a text and was like, "Oh my God, they just like passed the bill to like shut down the thing."
they
And I was just like,
did.
but then you were like one of the very ones. Like, you got emotional too, because you were like one of the first ones to like walk it, you know, actually go in there. And
yes,
stuff.
I
So
was-
You're involved in all these huge stories that have such a huge impact in
Yeah,
Hawaii too.
tell us
so-
about that. Tell us about that.
I am not going to take credit for that at all, because that was literally, I was invited into a koa by a very good friend of of mine, and I'd never been to a ceremony before, which is where an altar that is built, where you call in your kupuna, your ancestors. It's a place where you bring offerings. And I have chicken skin talking about it because that was literally my kupuna working through me. And it was something that happened. I went to the koa on a Sunday, and we had a full-fledged show 3 weeks later, and that was through the help of many people in this community. But that is, and you're right, it was a huge impact. That show Oli Kawai means so much to me because it was shown at Kamehameha schools. They had a viewing party for it at Leeward Community College, and I'm not going to cry again, but I'm telling you, but I'm telling you, like, those are the moments where I'm just like, wow, you know, because I have to tell you guys, I work right around the corner over here, and I am there sometimes 20-hour days, and I'm like, why do I do, like, why do I care? Why, McKenna, why? And it's stuff like that. It's moments like that. Like, my heart's so warm right now of just thinking of how many people that affected, and there's plenty of that to come, you know, a lot more of that.
Yeah. That's the change.
I love it. It's like entertainment, variety, sketches with Josh Chitofi, and water rights. Aloha Aina.
But that's the change that you talked about, like, making when you decided to come back home. Like, those are the...
Hawaii needed that for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you,
Hawaii
Rick and
definitely
Katie.
needed you.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell everyone listening right now, too, Hawaii needs you, too. Hawaii needs you. Hawaii needs you. Every single person who's committed to living in this place, to being in this place, to elevating this space, Hawaii needs you, your light, your what you want to bring. This is not, and this is something I've been really concentrating on as I go into this huge week next week, is that attuning to this frequency that I believe in, where it's like, it's the space I want to live in is non-competitive. It is elevating, it's uplifting, it's positive. It is some place where we can all feel safe being our authentic selves, but and doing what we are when we become that. We're all getting to this place of this authentic self, but then when you get there, run with it. Run with it. Like, go, you know, and pick what you want to do. We all do different things.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, so good.
Chicken skin.
Let me mark that.
So I'm coming back next Friday.
Yeah. We have a new host now.
You got this, McKenna. We'll go back to shooting.
No, we're gonna go back to Waimea. That is like you're living my dream life. Like, Waimea is like my dream.
We're so lucky to live there. Yeah, that was a dream. I did not grow up there. I grew up in Ka'u, which I also love.
My tutu's from Ka'u.
Oh, really?
Yes. Very cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ka'u connection. We were just talking to Malia Kaihui. Her family's from there too. But yeah, growing up, we would go to Waimea and I'd be like, wow, like, people actually live here. It's just like a dream. It's like the cows are happy just grazing in the green grass. It's just...
Wait, you guys just had Malia Kaihui on the show?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love her. So she actually just came to San Francisco for the Emmys as well, but her younger sister Puo is my best friend in 7th and 8th grade. So I've known Malia since I was like 13 years old.
Yeah, so many connections out here.
Powerhouses.
Yes, and really, like, we're going to talk about powerhouse, raising 8 children.
I don't know how.
On top of her 8 businesses.
I know. I'm like,
go watch that episode if you haven't.
Yes, absolutely.
Every
I
time
love
she
her.
posted something on Instagram, I'm like, how?
I know.
How were you doing that?
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Very cool. Love them.
I know we talked about your journey, talked about advice, what's next. Like, is there anything else you want to share with this world?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the listeners, like any nuggets you want to leave behind?
The nuggets? No, and I just want to thank you guys both for having me. This has been really, being on, yes. It is so great to kind of just, I think what I really want to go for is we're actually closing out this 2022, but I cannot speak enough about the abundance that we all have. And if you can just attune to that instead of being fearful of not paying your bills or not paying your, of being short of something, really know that there's more out there for you and it's going to happen, just keep the faith. 10,000%. Yeah.
I love that.
We all need a hug sometimes. We all need a pat on the back, and we all need someone to tell you it's going to be more than okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surround yourself with good people. Listen to inspiring things.
Kindness is gangster.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Let's
that's a good one.
shirt.
Turn it into a shirt.
Yeah. Kindness is so gangster. And I think, just stop. I just wish that we would all go in the same direction, and I think being a political year as well, it's been very difficult for people to, the divide In Hawaiian, we say the hula, so it means like everything's been flipped over. We can't do anything about what's happened. It's how we rise and how we continue that's going to make all the difference in the world.
I believe that.
So good. So good.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing.
This
and,
whole
you know,
conversation is just,
Yes.
it's giving me so much life. Thank you so much for being
Thank you for
here.
making the trip, girl.
Yeah.
I know. It's worth it. It's the same like how you were saying. It's like, you know, you just
Why? Yeah.
yeah, not about like this is not about making money. We are not
Yeah,
making
we're
money
not.
off of this, but it's like it just fills us so much. Like to have these conversations and to be able to share it with our friends, our listeners, our viewers, and it's
Hi,
just
friends. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
great. Thank
it's
you for what you guys are doing for our community too. It's really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please subscribe, like, and comment.
And find McKenna.
Oh yeah, how can we find you?
You can find me. All my handles are at McKenna Maduli.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love you guys.